Love laid bare.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. You are through to another episode of Love Laid Bare, and I'm, of course, your host, Dion. How are you guys this week? How have things been? Hope you've been looking after yourself as you should do. So today, everyone, I am joined by Lorraine Whyte. Lorraine I had a look at Lorraine's credentials and she covers so many different areas. And I'm so excited about this conversation in particular because it's one that I've wanted to have for a very, very long time. But I just kind of felt like, I don't know, maybe I wasn't experienced enough to have the conversation, or I just hadn't found the right person. But as they say, call for them and they will come. And she did. She's literally, I don't know, I just found you on Instagram one day. It was just amazing. But anyway, Lorraine, welcome to Love Laid Bare.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Dion. And I'm so glad to be here and I'm so excited. So,
You're welcome. You're welcome. So tell us a bit about yourself and your background and, some of the things that you currently do.
Okay, so I am an intuitive life strategist, and what that is, it's like a spiritual life coach. I help people to essentially unlock their soul. What I say is that I show people their potential, I help them to understand their path so that they can really step into the work that they were born to do. And how I
Okay.
got into this is literally through my own personal experience. I used to be I'm an ex headhunter recruiter coming from the corporate world. And I've really just changed my life over the last 10 years. And now working for myself in a very spiritual context. So I've kind of walked this path. And so it's almost like I'm helping others to kind of get into that space of, unlocking their soul, being who they were born to be.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, I saw things on there like you're a certified flower essence practitioner. So explain to me what is that? What does that mean?
Okay. Someone asked me that the other day. I completely forgot about it because I'm just so used to just using it and not thinking about it. So flower essences are like flowers. And from the flower, we get like an essence, like an energy, and we make it into an energy medicine. So it's like the Bach flower remedies. I don't know if you've heard of them. They sell them in Boots. They're quite
No.
kind of if you're in that world, you could go into Boots in the UK and get them quite easily. But they are remedies which help you to enhance your emotional well-being. They help you to clear emotional issues that you might be going through, and they're just very powerful and amazing. And I give them to my clients to help them on their journey if they're struggling with things like anger, with things like confidence, with things like resentment. The flower remedies help them to, if they take them, it's like in a liquid form. And so you take them under the tongue every morning or throughout the day. You can put it in the water and it works on an energetic level to help you to overcome the anger, resentment, whatever it is that you're feeling that's preventing you from stepping on your path.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, wow. So, my listeners know I'm very much, I consider healing to be like a three-pronged approach. So, spiritual, mental, and physical. So we're also very much trying to kind of incorporate and expose everyone to all the different, methods of healing and stuff like that. So that's really interesting to hear. Maybe, I don't know. Well, you're going to be back anyway again, but it'll be probably nice to hear about that in a bit more detail, actually.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we had an idea of the topic today, and then you contacted me a few days ago, and you're like, Dion, actually, there's something else I want to do. And when you proposed the topic, I was like, yes, because again, like I said earlier, it's something that I've wanted to touch on for a while. And I guess the topic we're going to discuss today is defining spirituality within the Black community. And Laurie says she feels quite strongly about this topic. So let's get it going. So how do we define spirituality? Would you say?
For me, spirituality is about that relationship that you have with God. It's accepting that there is, and there's a creator energy, there's a source energy that we can connect to, which people know as God. And it's about your relationship with that energy, how you engage with that energy. That's how I see spirituality. So there is no
Hmm.
framework, there's no rules, as it were. It is all light, okay? That energy is a light energy, it's a good energy. And if, it's like when you're connected to it, you can be divinely guided. And sometimes you may
Hmm.
find yourself guided to do things which other people may not understand or get. And then that's when the judgment comes in,
Yeah.
you know, and people start to think, oh,
Yes.
not sure about that, but it's almost like you're being obedient to your that source. You're being obedient to the God, the sovereign energy within you,
Mhm.
as opposed to you following man, let's say, following what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
That to me is what
Yes.
spirituality is.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, definitely. So, in terms of the work that you do, um, obviously, I guess it's not the norm of the kind of usual ways of like religion per se. Um, what kind of opinions and I guess judgments have you come across since you've kind of started to do your work? I mean, for example, I had a look at your website and you spoke about the fact that you are third generation psychic. Um, Now, we know many hundreds of years ago, people would be murdered for stuff like that. Depending on who you were, if you were within a certain faith group, then I guess in some ways it'd be okay. But if you kind of operated outside of that or in any type of secrecy, you were liable to be, burned at the stake or hung. Um, so yeah, so going back to I guess my question, what kind of judgments and opinions have you come across since you've kind of started to
I've had everything. I've been called a witch. I've been accused of doing voodoo, obia. I've had it all. I've had all the judgments. It hasn't
Mhm.
been too bad recently because I think the more that I've come into myself and the more that embraced what I do, the judgment kind of goes
Mhm.
a bit because it's like you're owning it.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
in the beginning, I've been
Yes.
accused
Mhm.
of all kinds of things. And this hasn't just been clients, this has been family, this has been friends. It's a whole, do you know what I mean? But I see it as a
Yes.
process, because it's almost like that judgment came about to help me to really, as I said, embrace what I do and really kind of be sure about what I do. But it does still get to me when I get odd
Mhm.
comment, which inspired this conversation because I had a conversation with someone of late who literally said, "Oh, I'm not sure about having a numerology consultation because I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do, by God, if it's light." Um, I literally had that conversation this week, and I thought, you know what, I want to talk about this.
Even whilst I was getting ready to have this conversation, I almost felt a little bit of anxiety. Um, Only, and this is the thing, like I own what I do and my practices, and my listeners know that I'm very much into crystal healing and stuff like that. Um, but strangely enough, I still felt a little bit like, oh, I wonder what some other people might think. And then I thought to myself, but Dion, why would you even care? You know, I think a lot of people might see you and they might just automatically have a perception of, you know, who you are and you know, the type of things that, for example, you might do. I mean, I'll share something with you. For example, like right now, I have a glass of water and a candle burning. I do that every single day without fail. For me, that's part of my prayer process, and that type of thing. But somebody could walk in and kind of feel like, oh, so well, you know, what's that for? But also, what I find interesting is that sometimes I want to talk about maybe Christianity because that's the background that I've come from. You know, I was raised Roman Catholic. I've practically done all of my sacraments, but from a teenager, I was very interested in um, alternative ways of um just I guess of looking at the world, I guess. You know, maybe seeing the holes in certain religions and some of the stories behind them. And you know, for me, so it's been a journey of over 20 years that I've kind of been questioning things and looking at things in different ways and just kind of being open to um different ways of kind of seeing things. And for me, in that process, what I've also found is that some sometimes the people that point the finger and you know will be like, oh, you know, that's dark or that's witchy or that's what have you. Sometimes they don't even realize that some of the practices that they do themselves are kind of similar, you know. So I found that really, really
Yeah.
interesting. But I guess we could go into that into a bit more detail a bit later. Um, so what is the like the main area would you say that you've kind of come up with opposition against in terms of, you know, the things that you teach and stuff like that?
Do you mean like the numerology and the meditative practices?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I've
are
come
those
up
the main?
with regards to, and it's yeah. I get to, okay. I'm going to be clear and blunt. So, numerology, I get a lot of people from our community who question it, and they will say, as I said, is this dark or you're not sure about this? Um, Also, meditative practices, because I get people when they work with me, I give them certain meditative practices, and people will be like,
Hmm.
I'm not sure about that, you know. Do you know? And this is simple, kind of getting someone to. I do a visual meditation, and it's going into the chakra system. So it's getting someone to really understand their spiritual anatomy.
Right.
Okay,
Mm,
that's scary for some people
yes.
because they
Mm,
don't understand it, and so they think,
mm,
"Gosh, is this like we're
yeah.
going into obeah territory or whatever?" It's like, and I don't understand that because what I understand that stuff to be is something completely different to spirituality because obeah is a kind of religion in itself, do you know? And so
Self. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
so I wouldn't even. I just feel it's because people do not understand what spirituality is. They don't understand what obeah is, but they do understand what
Hmm.
Christianity is, and that's what they base lots of things around. Even if they're not like devout Christians, that is where they seem to come from.
Yes.
But yeah, numerology,
Hmm.
meditative techniques, anything like manifesting as well. I get a lot of, people might say, not
Hmm.
sure about that because, everything that they don't feel that they should be taking control of their experience in life, let's say, because that is something that is planned. And I have an opinion on that in terms of you can only manifest what is planned for you anyway. You can't really manifest anything outside of
Ah,
that
interesting.
because
Okay.
anything you manifest and things it might not come in the right way, it's always because you have to learn. Okay, so if things don't come out the way that you want it to, it's
Hmm.
because there is a lesson to learn, but that lesson brings you straight back onto the
Learned.
path.
Yes.
Do you know? So you can't really um,
Mm-hmm.
manifest something that's dark. Even like darkness, when people, that is a thing. People do spells and things. That is a thing. But when they do
Hmm.
that, they are not essentially creating anything. Yeah, they're not the only. Yeah,
Okay.
the light creates, the dark doesn't create. In the past, I've had people, because I used to do, because I'm psychic, so I used to do like calls on the line, on the psychic lines, and people used to come to me and say all
Right.
kinds of
Okay.
things. And I'm like, no, but it's kind of like when people come to me and they ask me things like that, I have to say to them, you need to check yourself, because what you're wanting to do is not, it's like an insecurity. Do you know what I mean? So people might say, I want to,
Yes.
I want to get this man, or I want to get this woman, or I want to do, and it's like bending people's will. That's what they're asking me to do, which I,
Yes.
but you have to check yourself, okay, and check out, why do you feel that you need to do whatever spell or whatever to try and get that particular person? Because it's like you are, maybe that person isn't for you. Okay, number one, yeah. Number two, you're
Yeah.
blocking yourself from meeting someone else who is for you, but it's because of your own insecurity
Yeah. Exactly.
that you feel like you have to do something. Or the other thing I get is, somebody's done something to me, so can you help? I think I've got a curse or a spell on me. Okay, that is a thing. That is a thing. Okay, I'm not going to dispute that. But what I'm going
Yeah.
to say is, sometimes it's not a thing. Sometimes it's in your head, and sometimes it's because you are
Yeah.
believing that you can't have, you can't get the job that you want to get. You can't make the money that you want to make. It's again insecurity. You feel unworthy. You feel that you can't have what you want in your life, and so because you don't want to,
And it's easier to blame someone else, isn't
exactly,
it?
because you don't want to do the work. You don't want to check yourself. You don't want to look at the mirror and think, you know what? Maybe I need to go and learn about myself and learn what is stopping me from feeling worthy. What is stopping me from feeling
Yeah.
confident? What's stopping me from, what is stopping me? What is it? What mindset do I have that I need to change? And how can I change that? As opposed to jumping and saying, somebody's put a spell on me. Somebody's put this curse on me. Somebody, as I said, it's a thing, but it isn't always a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think, with the whole like spell and no, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, there's so many avenues in this conversation, but the whole spell and curse thing, I'm very much aware, and I've been told people have done stuff to me and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And my thing is always this: as the person, the perpetrator, you know, um, there are so many things in life you could focus on. If you're going to take your money and give it to somebody who says they have the ability to do this type of thing, surely wouldn't you be like, okay, why don't I use this money or whatever, all that energy to better myself?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, why don't you pay someone who is that gifted, allegedly?
Yeah.
Why don't you give them the monies and ensure that you are living the best possible life that you can live? Because if you were, you wouldn't be concerned about me and what I'm doing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
minding my business, but for whatever reason, you don't like me. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I
I'm even
completely
surprised I'm
get it.
saying this live on air. but yeah, but it's a thing, and often than not, most of these people that do these things would call themselves Christians too. You know,
Right.
um,
Right. Exactly. That my point exactly, because they actually believe that they're doing the right thing, because it's the conditioning, because they feel like
yeah,
somebody's put a curse on me. This is not of God. So I have to go and do something to get some help. And then what happens is it gets dark, because the people that they are going to
hmm
are not a lot of the time of God. And I'm sorry if I'm saying this, but a lot of the time, that is what happens. And it's like it gets dark, and it's like you've got to check yourself, because firstly, it's like nobody can, how do I put it? Nobody can control your life apart from you. No matter what, it has to come from you.
Mm-hmm.
You are the only one who can really create your own experience. You can't go to someone to get
Yeah.
them to change your life. You have to do that. You can go to
Mm-hmm.
someone, like
Do that.
I
Yeah.
help people to create their own experience, but I give that responsibility to them. Do you know? I'll help them to develop
Yeah.
certain abilities that they can be able to intuit and receive the right guidance to, create their own experience. And I think that's the difference, because there's
Mm-hmm.
people who will say, well, you need to do this spell or that spell or whatever to correct the situation. And it's like, no, two wrongs don't make a right.
Mm.
You have to stick
Yeah.
to the light, and to be honest with you as well. So another question I get, I need to protect myself. Yeah, I get that. How can I protect myself because all this stuff is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Protection is about connection. Protection, there isn't a thing like in terms of you have to protect yourself. It's about your connection to that source energy, and allow that source energy to protect you. Do you know? Because you'll get the wisdom, the guidance in terms of
Mm-hmm.
what you need to do to stay connected. Because if you're connected, it's a bit like, you might be going, like you might plan to go somewhere, and you get this kind of feeling that I don't think I should go, or I'm not feeling comfortable with this, or a
Mm-hmm.
situation, I'm not feeling comfortable with this. It's like
Yeah.
you need to listen to that. That's your protection. That intuition is your
100%. Yep.
protection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and people dismiss that.
Yep.
And then they end up in situations, they end up, getting with people, and their minds, the red flag is already gone. They've already seen that red flag to say this person is not for them.
Mm.
Or they end up going into this job or this situation, whatever it is. They've had that intuition, but they've
Mm-hmm.
decided to ignore it. And then they go
Yeah.
down this path, things go wrong, and then they come to me, and, or, just as an example, say someone's put a curse on me. It's like, that is, do you know what I mean?
If you just listen to your gut in the first
Exactly.
place, then no, do you know what, and it's so true. Like in episode I did about this Netflix program called
Yeah,
Behind Her Eyes, and I literally in that episode spoke about the fact how we need to actually start listening to
yeah,
our guts and listening to our intuition, because honestly 9 times out of 10 it has never
yeah,
failed me. And when I've but what I also said with that is sometimes even when you don't follow your gut and you don't listen, you don't follow your intuition, and then something as a result happens from that, in a way that's okay too, because hopefully now you've learned a lesson
yeah,
from that situation.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
exactly. And that is the taking responsibility, because you've got to check yourself and go back and think, well, what decision have I made that has created this situation? And I'll be honest,
Mhm.
sometimes that situation, because I work, as I said, quite spiritually, um, very spiritually, so I don't just focus on this lifetime, because there's stuff that might have happened like
Mhm.
ancestrally. There's stuff that might have happened like in past
Yes.
lives.
Mhm.
We've carried that energy into this lifetime. And so that's another level completely. And so, when you can't find, you might check yourself and you might think, you know what, I can't actually see why this is happening in my life. Then it is,
Mhm.
by all means, come to me and we can look at that in terms of what's going on ancestrally, what's going on in your past life, what energy have you brought into this
Ah.
lifetime, and that's when the healing comes in. So I do something called theta healing, whereby I connect to that source energy, and I'm able to, because I'm psychic, so I'm able to kind of see with that source energy, see somebody's past lives. I'm go into their ancestral line. I'll pick up the energy, what's going on ancestrally, and then I will
Mhm.
ask Creator God to clear that energy. But that's just through connecting to that source energy. Okay, and that's how I help
Mhm.
people on
Okay.
another level. But that's all about energy. I mean, there is nothing dark about that. It's just a gift that I have, but a gift that can be taught, because this is something that I've always been able to connect to that energy. But I did actually go on courses to learn the right way to really connect, and to be able to lend that energy
Ah,
to everyone
okay.
else. Yeah,
Okay. So in terms of all these different I guess methods that you've learned of how
yeah.
to heal, what would you say has been the most beneficial thing for you personally in terms of like your healing
It's
journey?
got to be the theta healing, back, because that once I learned that and I was confident in it, because before I learned theta healing, I was doing some kind of meditative technique, which I kind of channeled, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just receiving that um, guidance each time. But theta healing gave me a kind of framework and strategy in terms of how to heal myself and how to heal others. But since theta, my life has changed quite drastically, um, in terms of
Mhm.
the situations that I find myself in, the people that I attract in my life, the opportunities that come my way. It's really got me closer to God,
Mhm.
because it's a daily thing. Like, I will connect with that energy on a daily, and it's almost like a relationship. That relationship is now very close. Do you know? So I know that I can rely on that energy
Uh-huh.
to get me
Yes.
through whatever I'm going through in my life. It's guidance, gives me guidance. My psychic abilities have gone to another level. Um, yeah, it's been amazing.
Wow.
Yeah,
The concept of God, sometimes I feel like perhaps this is one of the reasons why people are so afraid maybe of exploring other alternative ways. So you know, Old Testament, God was very much, fire and wrath and, revenge and um but then in the New Testament we kind of came across a God that was a bit more loving, a bit more, a bit more calm, a bit more kind of gentle. However, sometimes what I do find with, I would say, maybe more the kind of black Christian sect of Christianity, um I feel like their view of God is still very much this almost this man to fear, you know. If you do XYZ, or if you don't do this, then you are going to end up in hell and you're going to burn for an eternity, and when judgment day comes, yada yada yada. So in a way I can almost understand why people have this like almost paralyzing fear of kind of stepping out of the box. But then at the same time, I'm a bit like, well, there are many other things that you do um, that would make God equally as angry, but you still do them, you know. Um, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not. There's so many things that people do that they shouldn't do as part of their religion, but yet, you fear damnation even more so if you were to even pick up a crystal. Do you know what I mean?
I do know completely, because there is this term of God fearing, being God fearing, and I get that. But again, it comes back to you really connecting to yourself, because this is all external. It's like you're relying on, what's written in the Bible, or what's, what the beliefs are. But when you connect to yourself, why are you being drawn to this crystal, for instance? What it's really
Mm.
been true to you, and what feels right for you, as opposed to what other people are saying. But
Yeah.
and it's
Hmm.
when you're sort of entrenched into
Hmm.
religion. I'm not here to convert people out of religion. You believe what you want to believe, um, but I
Yeah.
suppose
Yeah.
for me,
Hmm.
it's those people that are on the edge, and they're just coming out of, they're just kind of thinking, hold on a minute, this religion thing isn't perhaps working for me, and they are being drawn to crystals, they're being drawn to Reiki, they're being drawn to all these different things, and thinking, oh my gosh, as you say, I'm going to be going to
Hmm.
hell. But I want to say to those people, it's about really just connecting in to what God is actually, what direction God is taking you, as opposed to looking at a book that man
Yeah.
wrote.
Hmm.
Man wrote the Bible. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, I'm
Yeah.
not going to
Hmm.
go into that too much, but because that can bring back, it's quite controversial in terms of the Bible. But for me, man wrote the Bible, not God. Although people would say that was channeled, but
Yeah.
you don't know who
Hmm.
those people were that were channeling. They say they were channeling the information. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you really have to rely on yourself,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
God speaks through you. Do you know?
So yeah, so back on the kind of topic of the concept of God. Um, how do you describe, or what's your kind of, from everything that you've learned up to this point, how do you explain the kind of God concept? Like, to you personally, what is
Yeah, that's
God?
a good question. So, to me personally, God is that creative energy force. It's like a source energy that people might call the universe. It's God. And it's not a little man sitting in a cloud. It's an energy that kind of works through us, okay? And it's like being open. And I feel like I touch my heart, because that's where I feel the energy. It's like that God energy comes through that heart center.
Hmm.
Um, and it's about being able to connect in with that energy, um, whenever you need, because it's always there, but it's an energy. It's not a person or a being,
Hmm.
it's an energy. And that's how I see it. And it's
Hmm.
building that relationship with that energy by engaging with it, just like you would, as I said, it's a relationship. You engage with that energy. It's like you can rely on that energy. That energy has your back. That energy is not ever going to let you down. And as I said, when things don't work out or go according to your plan, it's really believing and having faith that it's part of the process. It isn't that the devil has come in and
Hmm.
and ruined everything. Because let me tell you something: the light is stronger than the dark, always. And it's when you believe in that
Hmm.
dark, and you give so much energy to it, and that's what you're doing. You're giving so much energy to it that
Energy
you
to
allow
it,
it to
yes.
control you, and you allow yourself to feel a
Hmm.
victim to it. When you really connect into that light, that God energy, that source energy, that energy is what can take you through anything. It can lead you to people that can help you in the physical
Hmm.
sense. It can lead you to solutions. You just have to really connect. And this is the message, really, that I do want to tell everyone, because I get this all the time, like with clients or inquiries where things have, their life appears to be falling apart, basically. And they may feel really
Mm-hmm.
in despair. And it's like what I say to them is part of the process. Do you know? It's like the tower has to come down for
Yeah.
it
Mm-hmm.
to be rebuilt again into a beautiful tower, a castle.
Go
It has
again.
to come
Yes.
down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? And it's to really
Yeah.
know that. And that's that God energy. When you really engage with that, that's that God energy, acknowledging that energy in your life, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's really nicely put. Actually, that's really nicely put. Um. So, in terms of so you mentioned earlier about the chakra system. And from my understanding, the chakra system is kind of like is it part of the Hindu? Is it part of the
Do
Hindu
you know
religion?
what? Yeah, sorry.
Right. So so there's been a lot of talk. I feel like within the spiritual community, that as Black people we should be focusing on more so on our own historic kind of spiritual practices, and we shouldn't be using things from outside, so things like yoga, things like chakra system, things like sage, um and certain other little things. We already had what we had in Africa, and it worked very well, and it should be about us connecting back to those things. um in terms of your work and what you do, um has that ever been a thing for you? Have you ever like explored African spirituality
So,
and the practices within that?
so African spirituality. Um, what can I say about that? I don't see it. I see spirituality as spirituality, but I go back to my roots for sure, because I think all spirituality, and this is going to be controversial, but I'm going to say it. I think that spirituality,
Go for it.
all spirituality came from that continent, from Africa. You know,
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
back in the day we were worshipping the sun, we were connected with the sun energy, the light energy. All the spiritual techniques that I
Mhm.
use are rooted in African, Egyptian, Kemet, that area. That's where it's come from. Even
Oh,
like the
okay.
flower essences
Uh-huh.
that you mentioned earlier,
Right.
the flower essences, they were using that back in Kemet. That's where like they were using flower essences like Bach flower. Edward Bach, who was a German, and he's the one that brought it to the West. But they were using flower essences in that time. That's where it's come from. Flower essences, herbs. They used
Okay.
everything within the land to help to heal themselves, to enhance their well-being, to be more connected. That's where that all came from. So when I hear the term
Mhm.
African spirituality, I kind of think, well, that's spirituality for me. Everything I do, excuse me, is coming from that. Do you know?
Right. Okay.
So the chakra system again, that is something that,
Mhm.
and yoga. There is something called African yoga. Again, they were doing yoga in like that time. Do you know?
Mhm.
And also in the
Yes.
Asia as
Mhm.
well,
Yeah.
but yoga was something that was being practiced. That sun sanitation, all is it yeah, because
Yes.
I don't practice yoga. I mean, I do it, I tap in and out of it, but I'm not a yogi. But I know that there's certain positions which I know,
Mhm.
they were doing centuries ago. Do you know? So um, I think that
Mhm. Yeah.
all of that is can come under African spirituality because it's from there originally. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That makes absolute sense. I guess again for a lot of people, the information's out there if you seek to find it, isn't it? Um, and I feel like people who have the most opposition to anything outside of their norm generally aren't the people that have even taken the time to even
Mm,
research to have such a strong objection or opinion, the NLP. So could we
yeah,
talk
of
about some of
course.
those things that you do?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so do you want me to go through them? So, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, is something that I trained in, but I don't and it comes in very naturally for me. So it's really for me about helping people to understand how they function in the world. What Because some of us we're kinesthetic, we're more touchy feely. Some of us are more auditory. Some of us are more visual, and so it's kind of being able to communicate with people according to their kind of their tendency, their inclination. And that's what you learn when you kind of do NLP. But I kind of say it's something that I do quite naturally because I'm
Hmm.
intuitive and I can listen to someone and kind of understand where they're coming from. Um, so that comes in naturally. And then I do the theta healing, which I've spoken about earlier. And I use that to help people to clear the obstacles that they perceive in their path so that they can be able to step into the work they're born to do to unlock their soul and to be who
Right.
they need to be in the world in this lifetime. It's very powerful, as I say, because it just clears the insecurities that they may feel they have. And also it clears
Hmm.
ancestral stuff. So the unworthiness is prevalent in our community because of what we've been through as a people. So that is a big one,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
it comes up and it shows up in people's
Hmm.
lives in all its forms, in all different forms, relationship, in work, in health, even. So theta healing covers that.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
also, I do something with regards to like past lives, which is something I kind of developed as well from theta healing, which is like my kind of thing that I've just developed with different people coming to me and they're kind of unsure, why this thing keeps happening, why these patterns keep happening, why do they keep attracting certain people in their lives, why do they keep having these experiences at
Hmm.
work, or um, so that clears that. And
Yeah.
then what
Hmm.
else? Numerology. So numerology is like a diagnostic tool. So when you come to me, first of all, we use numerology as a kind of diagnostic tool. So it
Hmm.
helps someone to really understand their path and understand why they've been through what they've been through. It reframes your narrative. It helps you to reframe, rewrite your story, let's say, so that it's like an awakening tool. That's why I love numerology, because people
Hmm.
can be so hard on themselves, and I think numerology helps somebody to see that you don't need to be hard on yourself. That's just how you're built. So this is how you're built. So how do we work with that? How can we work with that? So you stop seeing it as a
With
limitation,
that.
as an
Hmm.
obstacle. And that's why I love numerology, because it just helps people to really
Hmm.
see themselves in the best light, but also acknowledge the shadow side of them, but again in a positive way. So that is the tool that I
Hmm.
use to begin with, and then from
Yeah.
there we go into the healing, the faith to healing, and the coaching. Yeah, and
The healing
then
side of
I
things.
do like manifesting as well.
Okay.
And that again, I'll use theta healing to help someone to manifest. But again, as I said, you can only manifest what is for you, and things may not. Yeah, you
What's
can
meant for
bring
you?
things to you
Okay.
a bit quicker, maybe, but it's
Okay.
because you can shift your energy. So it's not about time; it's about energy. So if, like, say, I'll give you an example,
Hmm.
because I used to get this all the time with people saying they want to attract a man into their life, and it's like, what is stopping you from being with somebody is your energy. So if we work on your energy, then that man is gonna or woman is gonna come into your life a bit quicker because you've shifted your energy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Energy.
So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the
that's right.
new. Oh, sorry. So yeah, again, there's a little bit of a delay. Going back
Yeah,
to the numerology. So I came into the clubhouse session that you had.
I
Was it
did
last
two last
week?
week. Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah. And yeah. So and I worked out that my number was number 4 based on how many the
yeah.
addition of like the numbers in the letters and adding this together, and mine came up to 4. Um, could you just tell the listeners what, for example, what number
Okay,
4
so the
means for
number
somebody?
4 is like the builder, it's like the healer of the numbers. It's a number, and I do call it the healer because it's almost like you're here to build a platform from which people can grow. It's like you're able to build a platform, and this can be like what you're doing with your podcast. It's a platform from which people can learn about themselves. People can, um,
Mhm.
develop through that platform.
Yeah. Mhm.
But it's also like a healer because somebody can listen to your podcast and think, wow, I didn't think of that. And go off and do whatever they have to do in order to help themselves. And that is the
Mhm.
power of the 4. The 4, Oprah Winfrey is a 4. And just look at her empire that she's built. Yeah. Um,
Oh.
so it's like
Mhm.
what she's done for the world
Yeah.
in terms of helping people to really look at themselves, to grow, to develop. That is the power of the 4. It's very structured, very organized, it's very reliable. So when you've got a 4 in your life, it's like that things are gonna happen. Like the goal, you're gonna achieve your goals. If you've got a 4 in your team, they are gonna make sure that you achieve because that's what the 4 does. The 4 is also very
Mhm.
goal oriented. So the 4 will set up a load of goals for themselves and they will
Okay.
achieve them. That there's no
Mm.
quitting with the 4. Very kind of solid energy. Um, yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, I love the 4 energy. I mean, I love them all. They've all got their gifts. Yeah, the 4 energy is that, when you've got, and I can feel that energy with you as I'm sat here with you because I can feel like it's a very kind of energy where, you've
Mhm.
got me. It's very supportive. It's very kind of, you can rely on it. It's integral. And that's what I pick up from you.
Okay.
Just sitting
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yes. Um, are there any other points, I guess, that you want to kind of impress upon the listeners?
Um, I wanted to say actually, with regards to spirituality as well, that it is. I wanted to go a bit more into the self discovery um, and seeing spirituality as
Okay.
a mode of self discovery, and it's about understanding the landscape from which we live, from which we exist. So there's different levels. We've got this physical world, we've got this astral world, we've got this,
Mhm.
universe, and it's almost like when you go on this path, it's understanding your existence. Do you know? So it's understanding your spiritual anatomy, your chakra system, how you exist on an energetic level. It's understanding your soul. Again, this
Mhm.
is an energetic concept. Your soul as an energy which we all have a soul. So that energy is expressed through different lifetimes. Do you know? So we have different. The soul is like I see it psychically like a ball almost,
Right.
and the
Mhm.
ball expresses itself in different lifetimes, because we have so many different lifetimes. And it's about understanding your soul's
Mhm.
evolution, and what is it here to do in this lifetime? What is the thing? And that's where the numbers come in. That's where the
Do.
numbers come in.
Mm.
So the numerology helps you to understand what your soul is doing here. Why are you here? What do you need to experience for your soul to evolve?
Mhm.
And I just
Yeah.
want people to kind of see it from a bigger perspective when they're trying to understand themselves. See themselves from the soul level, from the energetic level, and understand that we're not just physical beings, and that every physical problem, there is a spiritual, energetic
Being. Mhm.
solution to every physical problem that we experience. And I also want to say, and you feel free to edit, but I also want to say is at this time in COVID, it is key that we understand ourselves entirely, not just as physical beings, as energetic beings, because it will take the fear
Mhm.
away in terms of what's going on, and it will help you really understand and connect with what's right for you, because we're having all of these issues at the moment. You should get the
Mhm.
vaccine. People are saying, I need to get this vaccine. I need to, stay in the house. And, I get that to some extent. But when it comes to the vaccine, I won't be having it. So it's like, I know that
Oh wow.
vaccines
Okay.
can dumb you down, your energy.
Uh-huh.
And so if you understand yourself, yeah. If you understand
Ah.
yourself on an
Okay.
energetic level, it's almost like you will see the damage that a vaccine could do to you, because you want to maintain your sovereignty, your spiritual, energy. You don't want anything to come in and to dumb it
Yes.
down,
Mm.
and that, because to me, yeah, it's
Dumb it
awareness.
down
It's
and infiltrate it. Mhm.
affecting your ability to be conscious and more aware of yourself and what's going on in the world. And I feel that is part of the agenda. And again, you can edit that out if you want. But I do want people to know. I
No.
do want people to know that right now it's so important for you to understand yourself on an energetic level and understand the power that you have in terms of being able to heal yourself no matter what comes, to you. People are dying at this time, but you also need to know that
Mhm.
people are dying because there's something called divine timing. People are dying because it's their time. And a lot of people are dying at this time because we are going into a
Mhm.
new world order, a new phase, and not everyone signed up for that. And so this is the time when you're going to see that. And the Bible, although I have said what I said about the Bible, it does say something, it does refer to this time, you know. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Okay, Laurie. I could literally speak to
Yeah,
you for hours and hours and hours, and
yeah,
I'm absolutely getting you back on here, in the next couple of weeks so we can talk about
yeah.
talk about some more things. Um, Thank you so much for taking the
That's
time out to
okay.
sit and speak with us at lovelaidbare today. Um, Guys, if you guys, if you'd like to follow Laurie, you can find her at LORI _A White, which is WHYTE. So that's Laurie LORI _AWYTE on Instagram. And her website is www.lifestrategist.co.uk. Please hit Laurie up. As you heard, there are many things that she can you know, potentially help you with. I'm going to be definitely using Laurie's services. I can't wait to get involved in some of it. But yes, thank you so much for taking the time out to sit with us today. And
Thank
We'll
you
see
so
you
much,
soon.
Dion. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, if there is anything that you have been affected by today, or, head over to our resources page. That's www.lovelaidbare.com/resources. Feel free to drop me a DM at lovelaidbare.com or info@lovelaidbare.com, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. I'm there. So, yes, look after yourselves. Take care. I love you. And it's a wrap.
Love laid